We're not getting any audio because I didn't open up my mic on Zoom. So, welcome to the broadcast, everyone. This is Leland Best of Best AI TV coming to you once again for season 2. You're sitting here going, "Where's all the volumes?" Because I opened my mic, but I didn't open my mic over in Zoom. What is it about audio and me? I don't know what it is, but I just want to thank everybody here. You can't get in anywhere, he says. Did you change the link again? Of course I did. Of course I did. That's Ross going, I can't get in anywhere. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying everything. I gave him the link one time, and that's what happens. If we don't remember to save, we have old stuff. So I'm going to let Ross in here in just a second. We got people coming on board. We got new people coming in. We got Ross coming in. So I'm going to let you guys in. Go ahead and come on the screen, guys. Come on in, Carrie. I'm going to let you in here too. I'm going to get him on stage in just a second. We're going to get Ross in here in just a moment. We got Ross in. Not a lot, dude. What's happening? No, I get it. Hold on. I'm going to bring you on screen in a second here, bud. You're not even on screen yet. So let me get you over. Yeah. There's Mr. Ross McCamey. He's a little blurry today. We got to get that camera of yours working a little bit there, bud. You're all blurred out sideways. No, I get it, dude. That's fine. Yeah. Yeah, take your time. New season and everything. I'm gonna ask he's gonna have to come on when he's ready. So I'm gonna tell him to go ahead and start his video and his audio when he's ready to. We got a new gentleman coming on board here this week. Getting pretty excited about all this. Oh, there goes Ross. He just blinked away. He's there. He's just it's all good. Again, a new season 2. What did we do? 14 episodes last season, which was pretty cool. Only 10 of them got, I think 10 or 12 of them got posted on YouTube. The other 2 or 3 are still laying around on Facebook after the broadcast. So we never did finalize those. Let me make sure I got a mic open for Ross here. I probably didn't. Oh, let's see. That's all right. We're playing. We're just getting everything ready. Yeah, they can now. I haven't had these guys in for pre-mic checks or video checks or anything for the podcast, so you guys get to see it all take place in real time while we get things started for the new season. Kerry will be with us when he gets done with his client. I know he was on a phone call, and I shared the links with him to get him out here. So I'm going to start a record here on the Zoom side. Oh, it is. Record meeting to the cloud. There we go. Make sure we got everything. I hear some audio coming through on Ross's end. So
Yeah, I accidentally clicked on your notification of a live.
oh no, that's all good.
Trying to give things up.
This is what we got
I
to do.
am I'm running, man. It's with all the flooding in the mountains and the
Mhm.
strikes going on the East Coast, we built out some custom systems to help coordinate efforts to help those people in the mountains.
Oh,
And
cool. Very cool.
um, I realized last night that I hadn't taken care of my own house. So I had to run to Costco this morning to get some stuff for us with this upcoming strike. So, or
I
well, the
totally
strike that
get it.
happened as of today.
Yeah, what's the story behind that? Can you give us a little insight on
It's
what
a
happened?
union strike for better wages. It just happened to
Oh,
come right as Helene devastated the East Coast and the mountains especially. So it's all hitting at once, which is kind of crazy because you got to think everything going on in the mountains, and now you have supply chains completely shut off, which means if this strike lasts very long, we're not going to be able to get anything on the East Coast. It's all going to have to come from California because it's shut down all the way to Alabama, if not Texas, I believe. So
what was
everything
it that
except for
it's
the West
just
Coast.
on based on wages for the people working the docks? Is that what it sounds like?
Honestly, I haven't looked too deep into it. If anybody has more information, I would love to get a quick clip note of it. But that's what my gathering is that it's about wages and the union is on strike until they get what they want. So,
Gotcha.
and with it
Hey,
coming into an election year, I'm not sure the government's going to step in and say, "Hey, we aren't going to do this strike right now like they've done in the past."
yeah.
Um, I think they'll be too worried about the voters of the union, so we may be stuck with it until everything happens. It's kind of like a perfect storm right now.
That would be so terrible though if they do something like that. I can't even imagine. I'm going to send you a PDF real quick, Ross, on the back end, and Carrie both. So if you see this on Facebook in the DMs, it's going to be the first 2 episodes here outlined out for this week. Next
Got it.
week, which is pretty straightforward. I really wanted to get back to the basics, Ross, because I think what, with what we put together in the initial podcast, which was me just making a call to action to get a bunch of people together to try and help folks figure out AI. And we did just that. We got 6 of us together originally. It whittled it down to about 4, and then it came down to scheduling conflicts and things of that. Lee is still very much a part as the executive producer. He's just working. He just closed down his new house yesterday. I just got in touch with him this morning, so we will be seeing him hopefully in the next week or 2 out here at Best AI Podcast as our co-host. And Ross has been kind enough to step up to the plate and be, I think, really honestly, another executive producer in this mix so that we can get this thing rolling and get it out into the hands of those who need it the most, which are people struggling with business and trying to understand UI, figure out, or AI, I'm sorry. UI is a big term in this industry because we're
UI is also important.
That's just user interface. UX, another term a lot of people hear up there, is user experience. And that's really what we strive for, is a good user interface, a good user experience, and just an overall pleasurable, outcome, because we're all looking for money. We're all looking for clients. We're all looking for, moving ahead in business. And if we can't learn to work together, then we're just working against each other. So
Well, and I'll take that a step further. It's not, I've learned this week, it's not always just about making money and finding clients. It's about finding a solution that helps everybody involved. Yeah, I may come back to this a lot because with what I've seen in the mountains and everything, people's lives have not just changed, but their generational family structure has changed from these storms, and understanding that we can take a shift with these systems from making money and finding clients to being able to create systems that coordinate efforts that save people's lives, that help people get back to normal faster. Like, these are the things that we can do with these systems now, that is not necessarily, like, I'm not asking money for these systems. We built it out to help these people that are in dire conditions right now.
Yeah, we do
And
it all the time when
that's really, I think, comes down to the core of what we do here, is we build systems that solve problems and help coordinate efforts and help remove the human element where it can be removed, so that things just get done on the back end, so that humans can interact and help each other and be together and come together as community. And that's where, if you're watching this right now, understand that's where our mindset is we are giving back to the community, whether it's building a system, whether it's putting something in place for a major disaster like this, or helping you thrive in your business with the systems that we build. It doesn't matter, as long as we're finding a solution for you that works, or you can take these systems and find a solution for somebody else that works. That's the core mission here, is we want to give as much information as possible so that it's not just us. If there's only a Leland and a Ross when we have a natural disaster that can help coordinate these efforts, it doesn't go anywhere. We want you to take what we're giving you on this channel and do with it the same thing. Pass it on.
Don't rely on us for everything. That's the big thing. We don't ever, we're here to teach. It's like, teaching a man to fish versus giving a man a fish. We just don't want to give people fish. We want to teach you how to do this, because you're going to benefit a lot more in the end if you do learn it versus just relying on someone else to do it for you. And, I got to throw out just a shout out to Mike Brown, who is a developer on the back end for our main foundational systems, for the fact that he did the same thing during the hurricane efforts in Puerto Rico. And because of the systems that he's able to build and manufacture on the back end, which has helped us tremendously in building our businesses, he was able to have more volunteers than were ever necessary to show up in Puerto Rico because of the automation strategy that he put in place to help FEMA. And it's one of those types of, it's those types of people that we want to continue to work with. Whether you're winning or losing in business doesn't necessarily matter. It's what are you out there for? Why are you in business, and who are you out to help? Because if you're just out there trying to scam people with AI and take their money because it's easy right now, we don't want anything to do with you, because you're not the AI people we want to work with. You're just out there to ruin people's lives by taking their money. And that's not what we're here to do. So thanks for that, Ross. let's just kind of move ahead. I'm going to cover a couple of things here because we have changed the game up a lot. So we're going to go back through the process of what is Best AI TV, what is Maverick Solutions, what is Best AI Podcast, and what does it become? Because it is changing. We do now have a new website, which used to be bestaipodcast.tv. We thought that was a little bit of a mouthful, so we went with Best AI TV. So it's just bestai.tv for me. That's my YouTube channel, which we will be broadcasting Best AI Podcast. So if you want to register for the podcast, you're going to have to go over to the website, click on that button below Ava, which is the name that Ross has used for his AI build. Most of the time, we kind of grasped that when we did the podcast. So we call her Ava. Ava is also on the phone lines. If you want to call in on the 800 number, she will talk to you on the phone. She also has a chat widget there on the website that you can ask her questions about anything AI if you'd like. And once you register, you'll have a Zoom link for the next, I believe it's 12 sessions that go all the way to December, or I think it's less than that, about 10. Down to December 24th. Yes, that's the Christmas Eve, of course, but I think we'll just do, I think it's the 24th that we're ending on that day, on Tuesday. One of those days anyway. So we'll take it into December and then we'll wrap season 2 then. And that'll give us a way to kind of stay in touch. So all the links have been updated out on the podcast website. Ross, you want to tell them how you can be found on your YouTube channel and your website so that they can find you as well?
Yeah, if you want to find me on YouTube, I am at Maverick Solutions on YouTube. You'll look for my logo. It's green and blue with a big V in the middle of it. And then you can find us on Facebook at Maverick Solutions as well. And just get in touch. If you want to learn anything about what I'm doing, just get in touch and collaborate. If you want to network with me, just hit me up in my DMs on Facebook at Ross McCamey and we can have a chat.
Very cool. All right. I'm going to do us one better here. I'm going to pull this in while I got a chance. So just give me a second. I'm working on it. I'm going to get him in here in just a second. Guys? We need to get him over. This is our latest edition to Best AI Podcast. We've got Curry Taylor in the house. What's going on, dude?
Not much, man. As you guys
know. Is it Curry or is it Carrie? I thought it might have been Carrie.
It's Kyrie, no Irving.
Kyrie, no Irving. What?
Yeah. So if you follow, I tell everybody who follows basketball, the way to pronounce my name is just like Kyrie Irving, but I say no Irving.
Gotcha. I got you.
So that way they lock it in, and then it's like you have zero issues pronouncing it after that. But yeah, pretty much.
Oh, we're cool. All right. No, I'm happy to have you on board, dude. I've been watching what you do in this space, and you're definitely a mover and a shaker. You like to get things done. Just coming back from where? Dubai, right?
Dubai, man. Yeah, it was an amazing conference.
Tell us about it, man.
Over there. So what's going on? The name of the conference was called Thrive and Prosper. It was kind of like a meeting of the minds for 3 different groups of trainees for these entrepreneurs that at this point have kind of become family for me and my wife. It was really cool, man. Like I talked specifically about how to implement AI inside of these solo and multi person entrepreneur companies. And the light bulbs that went off, the aha moments that happened were just like amazing, right? So there was the main conference. I spoke on the action day, like the taking action day, where we're not just talking about strategies and how you use things, but also talking to people about how to implement these things into your business. Like right now, like before you leave Dubai, you'll have a plan in place to create your email nurturing is what I talked about. And then we had what we called office hours, which was the following day. And it was literally like one-on-one time with people that came to the conference, the different attendees. And that was the gold. Like having that one-on-one time with people and like helping them get through those. A lot of it was self-limiting beliefs around how they could leverage specific tools inside their business. Just something as simple as like saying, hey, you realize you can output this social media plan in an Excel format inside of ChatGPT or whatever you're using was just like mind blowing for a lot of them. So, but yeah, it was really cool, man. I was out there for about 2 weeks, multiple sessions that we had, and just a lot of good interactions, man. It was a powerful experience for sure.
That's very cool. All right. Just to get us on the same production level here, Carrie, I know we didn't get a chance to meet up pre-show, so I'm just going to are you on a laptop?
I'm on a I'm on my desktop. On my
Can you just
as
adjust your camera hair so that you get a little less clearance at the top of your head there, whatever that means,
oh
whether
yeah,
it's
yeah.
if you can tilt
I
your
got you.
camera maybe down a little bit. We just want to have a full on good production here so that everything looks on the up and up. There you go. Beautiful, dude.
Yeah.
So I just want to kind of start back to where we were. We got a new member, and I'm glad to have you here, Curry. I really am. I've been watching what you do in the space, and it's just something to be commended.
Yeah, glad to be
It
here,
takes
man.
a heart. It takes a heart to get into this stuff and really do it for others instead of jumping on the AI bandwagon to just make a fast buck, which is what a lot of people are doing right now. And I hate what I'm seeing, honestly, with some of the
Yeah.
stuff that's being pushed out there. So we're doing our best. We want to give back, like Ross said. But what I see us doing is starting over. We came out here the first session or our first episode season, we might say, and we were just kind of trying to keep up. We were like, okay, this is what's happening. This is next. Oh my God, now it's this, and this has been updated, and this has been updated, and we just tried to keep up. And it's not a really good look when it comes to teaching. So what I figured we'd do is we'd go back to square one. We'll start with how we're going to use AI. You know, what is it we really need to teach people? What is it we need to learn? And it always goes back to prompting. I don't care what anybody says. AI is still just a tool that has to be coerced, manipulated, trained, taught, you know, whatever you got to do to it. So one thing we didn't cover, guys, at all was the types of prompting we should be doing. And I think we lacked severely on that when we came out here. We talked about generative prompting for image prompting and video prompting and just creating documents prompting, but that's not really what prompting is all about. So I want to go cover a table that I've created so that, and we're going to cover this in sections. Did you get the outline for today, Curry?
Yeah, I have it. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, so what we want to do, I guess, at first is define what prompt engineering is. Ross, you want to kind of give an understanding of how you feel
Yeah,
define
and
prompt engineering?
I'll tell you, mine is probably the least technical
Yeah,
version
that's
of
a good, that's what I want, really.
it. So what I do when I prompt is I talk to it as if I'm talking to an employee. Here's your job. I'm going to be very descriptive. So not only am I talking to it like it's an employee, I understand that most of these AI systems, unless you pay for ChatGPT or you pay for Claude or you pay for something with memory, they're not going to remember your last conversation, which means it's like training a brand new employee for the first time. So whenever I go through and I give a prompt, I'm not just going to say, hey, I want you to do this, assuming the employee knows how. I'm going to give it every instruction I can, which means the best thing to do is find a prompt that works for a similar task, copy it, paste it into a spreadsheet, give a description of that. And then I go another step further. And what I'll do is I'll create a blank like framework template of that prompt. So not only am I saving the one that worked to get this output, I'm saving a blank version that has less details, but the same structure. So it's going to go through and say, here's the job, here's how you do it, here's the personality I want you to do it with, and it's going to have a framework, just a skeleton of all of that. And then we input the real data for every use case thereafter. So what we do is multifaceted. First, we break it down like it's a brand new employee. Then we give it exact instructions on the job at hand. Then we break that prompt down to get it generic. And then we fill it back in with the next prompt that we need. And that's how we do it on our end at Maverick, because we want to systematize this, because what we've learned, we can shortcut our users' learning experience by giving them a form to fill out that dynamically fills in that prompt. And for their use case, it becomes easier. But at the end of the day, it's just like training a brand new employee for the first time. They've never done this job, and you've got to either give them examples or you have to give them context, and you have to give them step-by-step instructions. It isn't just hey, make this for me. You've got to get very detailed with what you want it to do.
Yeah, I agree. Carrie, you want to give your definition of what you feel prompt engineering is and what it's about?
Yeah, sure. So a lot of the same kind of like instruction there that Ross went over. I am extremely technical when it comes to my prompt engineering. So I
give me an example of what you do. Like, give us an example of how you do it.
Well, the beginning stages for me, which is different from most people, is starting with a framework. So a lot of people, they go in and they understand that they have to have a task. So, hey, I need a list of these things, and I wanted to do this. my framework operates, or there's so many different versions and different ways to do it, but mine operates based off of the contextualization of exactly what it is that you want your output to be. And similar to what Ross said and what you said, it's essentially me talking to an employee. I look at it by way of if there is a way to have a standardized process for whatever I'm getting ready to train this AI, LLM, or if I'm just interfacing with, one of the systems, I'm talking to it in such a way that I don't want to have to talk to it again. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, this is the training material. I want you to act in this role because that's what I'm hiring you for. I want you to understand that this is your task. These are the main goals. So I operate by way of frameworks for every single thing that I do, even things that require me to train an AI on what I want it to do. It's like, okay, now understanding this framework, give me a prompt that best illustrates and articulates how I can train you to do this with a 95% efficiency, right?
Gotcha.
So I get really, really in the weeds around a lot of this stuff. And that's essentially my ideology around using them. Of course, with the different tools, I have agents and assistants that I can now they do have that memory piece where I interface with them and it's like, hey, let's pick up where we left off type of deal. But, for people who are just adopting this stuff, the main thing is to make sure that you're reminding it, right? When you're in these free models, it's kind of tough to have a 30-day conversation about the same topic without it losing track. So you got to remind it. But yeah, ultimately that's my ideology around like prompt engineering and making sure that I do things. Rinse and repeat for the most part.
No, absolutely. And that's one thing that I had this huge epiphany the other day, guys, when I was digging into prompt engineering, because for me, it was the same thing. You build a foundation, you put an outline together, you structure your prompt so that the AI gets it from not only a layman's perspective, but from a definitive perspective. You've got to let it know exactly what you want, how you want it delivered, what do you want it to look like. And we do get into detail. And then others will say, no, you just need to tell it one sentence as to what you need, and it can figure it out on its own because it's so smart. And you're like, right, we've tried that. It doesn't always work that way. But what I did find out is there's a lot more to prompt engineering than what we thought. And there was some really cool articles that I'll leave links for in the aftermath that came through Forbes. And I don't have the author's name right in front of me. I'm sure it'll make itself apparent as we move ahead. But the idea of prompt engineering is much deeper than that. And what you see on the screen in the lower right corner there is one of my tables over at AI Table that I've created and generated. And I'm going to kind of bring that up to space if I can. No, I have it on a 4-up, so I'm going to do it another way. I'm going to just bring that desktop up to the screen for a minute for you guys so you can see it. And what you're looking at is an open table. It's basically the type of prompt method available, a little description of that prompt method and a use case. And then I have some reference material along the side to all the articles that were written by this gentleman on the types of prompting that are available out there. What we're talking about right now is pretty simple conversational prompting. Okay, that's really all we're doing. We're talking to it in such a way that we're telling it what to do. But what we have, and that's right here, this is like number 10 on my list, this conversational prompting, so that we're having a dialogue with the AI. That's all we're doing is talking to it. But what I want to start to cover are the various prompt methods that are available to us that we're totally ignoring most of the time. And a lot of that comes down to methodology. So I'm just going to cover these really alphabetically as we go. I think the outlines that we have here went right to a couple of examples in the outline that was created by the AI, but that's not the format I want to take. I think it'd be easier for everyone involved in the prompt engineering. Let's learn it alphabetically. Let's start with A and go to Z, whatever that might be. And that way you'll have some way to memorize as we move ahead through the next couple of episodes, what types of prompts you want to learn. Everybody's going to find something different. So let's just take the first 5, for example. I have 47 prompt methods. Okay. Now we just mentioned conversational AI. That to me is like one prompt method. Both of you actually use the same prompt method. I also use the same prompt method, and I want to learn more. So let's start with the first one, guys. Have you ever heard of adaptive prompting? Seems pretty straightforward, right? All we're talking about here is the refining that we're doing. Like you guys just mentioned, you are using adaptive prompting. You're going through, and when you get the response from the conversational prompt that you gave it, you readjust. You go back and you adapt. You go, oh, that didn't give me the result I wanted. So I've got to readjust my prompt a little bit. That's all adaptive prompting is. Add-on kind of the same thing, but what you're doing is moving that construction to adjust the prompt. So you're using external add-ons to enhance your prompt. And what that is are you using a prompt generator? Okay. Do you guys have prompt generators? Either of you? I know Ross does. Kari, have you developed one yet?
So a lot of my stuff is manual because I like a level of control that a lot of people laugh at. But I've used them before for sure. Like I think the place where I leverage prompt generators the most is within the assistants that I've custom made for things like video and images, right?
Okay.
I'll leverage them there more than anything.
Well, that makes sense. So when you're structuring your prompts, then you're just basically sitting down in a word processor or whatever and constructing what you think the AI is going to want to receive from you, correct? Or do you have, it sounds like you have a bunch of templates already made that you start.
Yeah, at an initial step, I start a conversation, right? I start a conversation within whatever the LLM that I'm using, right? So I'll say, you know, hey, I want you to do this. And I have that initial prompt and I kind of build that out on the fly because I go off the top of my head of what the use case is, the utility and the application. And then once I have that as a framework, I take that and before submitting it, I take it to a different LLM and whichever one fits the logic. So if it's something, you know, I'm a developer by trade. So if it's something that has to be with development, my go-to right now, actually right now, it's O1 Preview because it's just so good at the multimodal long form kind of like thinking through all the different things and it can iterate on itself. So I leverage that one more than anything when it comes to the technical stuff. But yeah, essentially I'm starting from base and then from that I develop what that framework looks like and I leverage that whenever I want to go back to something like that. So yeah.
Ari, what is your main use case? Is it mostly coding or is it using it for copyright? What is your number one?
I use it for everything. There's no like if I'm doing something like, you know, in other words, I didn't use it for this, right? I'm just fresh off the plane technically. So I didn't really prep for any of this stuff. But generally speaking, I would, right? I'd say, hey, you know, this is my area of expertise that we're going to be talking about. And I want to make sure I hit these points. Give me a way to articulate this in such a way that I can make these follow and flow in with whatever the conversation organically goes, so on and so forth. And I'll be top of mind with that kind of like on one of these side screens. And whenever the opportunity presents itself, I'll chime in with that kind of stuff. But yeah, like my main use case is everything. It sounds weird to say it, but it literally is everything. If I'm dealing with something, even for my kids, it's like, hey, I gotta create a schedule where these modifiers will be in flux throughout the week. So I need you to give me a framework that I will be able to leverage and input those changes as I go through so that we can be agile to whatever the schedule changes to. So
man, that's cool.
It's really something where
I haven't even approached yet. So that's a new perspective for me to see.
Dude, these are the things that people don't understand. They get into a niche. Like everyone that I talk to when it comes to AI, the general thing that they leverage it for is I want to write more professional emails for work.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. You could also leverage it to interact more at a more intimate level with your kids as well. Right. People don't think about it. They're like, no, really?
It could be teaching their kids so much stuff with AI right now on their own. You know,
not even that, just the fact of as you're a kid, you're like, man, these parents don't understand me. As an adult, you're like, man, I don't really understand these kids. And so like I'm coaching my son's baseball league for the first time. He's 5 years old, going to be 6. And I'm like, how do I play baseball my entire life. Couldn't tell you how to coach 5 and 6-year-olds how to play baseball. So I threw that into ChatGPT and said, help me come up with a fun way to go through practice that gets them to learn at the same time. Dude, we've been having a blast. The team's advancing week over week. It's so much fun. And that was, again, a good way for me to communicate with my kid. And it came from AI. I use it a lot in personal life as well.
What I call it is MVP prompting, because ultimately at the end of that interaction, that initial interaction, and I might be quick. I need to get something really quick. I need to identify before I go into that what the MVP of that outcome is, right? I can go and tailor it and massage the data later on if need be, but I try to organize my prompting in such a way that when I get to the end of that chain with that AI, I have an MVP. Whether or not I decide to, iterate on that MVP later on is up to me, right? And how successful it is, because it's not always successful. But yeah, 100%, man. It's something that makes it so that I can offset all the remedial, what I consider remedial, because everybody's remedial is different. All those remedial tasks that lead me to get to the point of the goal, so that I can actually put the brain to the things that matter. So yeah, I guess that's kind of like my ideology.
Yeah, it's really a matter how you want to use it. For me, I sit around as a podcast developer and producer and such. I spend a lot of time creating runs of shows and, just obviously social posts as well. So I spend a lot of time with the automation end of things, creating post bots and prompt bots and things that I can use and offer to others that they can use. So it's not really just a selfless or selfish type of thing for us. I know a lot of them look at AI as, oh, I can do so much, I can become so much better and I'll be the best at it, and I'll whoop everybody's butt because I'll have, yeah, that's great to have that competitive nature. Don't get me wrong. I want people to succeed and be competitive in business. But I think at this level with AI, there's no need to concern yourself over competition. And that's all I'm trying to get at. You shouldn't be worrying in your head, am I making it to market fast enough? Am I getting something that people want is the key. Just give them what they want and try to develop off of that, because right now that it's an open field. There's nothing standing in anybody's way right now. That is all I can say to that. So
agree.
That's just 2 out of the 47. So can you guys guess at what some of these prompts are? And I just want to mention to the people watching right now, we're not following any of the conversations on the feed today. This is a first pilot episode for season 2. We don't have time to just follow up on that, and we're not really set up for that right now. We will do that on future episodes, but for now, this is just going to be a simple hour podcast, and then we'll follow that up. If you want to join us on the Zoom afterwards, go to Best AI TV, register for the Zoom, and you can come in and hang out with us for an hour afterward. All right. I just want to touch on some of the ones that are really cool, though, before we go into the alphabet. Chain of thought was one that really caught me off guard, and not because I didn't know better, but because it's so simple. What were we always asked as kids when we were in 3rd grade doing math problems?
Why did you do that? Show the solution.
Show your work. Just show your work.
For this so much.
Ross going color bars on us.
I used to get in trouble for this so much, man.
Yeah, show your work. Well, the whole idea behind chain of thought prompting, and there's 2 methods to that. There's a factored version and there's an unfactored version, which is just to say, just give me your chain of thought as you do this. If you ask the AI to show its work, you'll be pretty impressed on the steps that it takes to get the answer to you. So I highly recommend anytime you're building out a structure, or especially a foundational, framework for something for your business, ask it to give you the work that it's doing so that you can see that it is touching on all the points that you need it to. If it's not, then you reassess. Then you get into the additive prompting. Then you get into the adaptive prompting. So it's kind of a workaround, but you see the point. It's like if one prompt doesn't work, try a different type of prompt.
Right.
I think a lot of us sit here in this conversational mode all day long, and we beat our heads on the table sometimes going, why won't you give me what I'm asking for? I'm asking you conversationally, but you're not providing. I think it's because we're missing the mark on our prompts. We're not realizing
100%.
How open it is to these types. So I want to teach these to everybody. The list will be available. Let me give you the author's name real quick while I have that here. It is actually a gentleman on Forbes by the name of Lance Elliott, Dr. Lance B. Elliott with 1 L. He's a contributor over there. He's been putting these articles together on Forbes since AI began, really. He's an innovator over there. And he did an entire series on prompt engineering that I'll also provide. And then under each type of prompt engineered method, he has another link to an article that he did that expands on that. So probably the best resource out there for anybody right now that wants to learn prompt engineering. What do we got? We got about 20 minutes.
I would probably add to that. It's just simply like one of the things that's the most interesting about the different methodologies around this prompt engineering thing is the iterative nature. And as you get into it, you not only are you training it to kind of like follow along, but you're training yourself on how to prompt it as well, right? Like there comes this point when you're dealing with, if I get to a point where I have to say no more than twice in a prompt response, I look at the source. So now I'm like, okay, and that's where what you just talked about, Leland, comes into play. Explain to me why your reasoning, what reasoning led you to this? And if in that 4 bullet point list of reasoning for the context that I'm asking you to give me a feedback on, I see that number 3 is off. I can then say, oh, this is all great, but number 3, you need to adjust to think about this.
Yeah,
and then
I agree.
After you do that, you can redo it. So yeah, it's very powerful, but it's easy to go down the rabbit hole.
Russ, you want to give an example of maybe, I know you've given out your framework in the past, the conversational framework that you've developed. Is that a file you'd be willing to share again today that you have access to?
Yeah, I'm happy to share it. I'd have to go grab it, but I can send it to you.
I have it here if you want me to. I've actually stored it in here. Let me see.
And yeah, by all means.
Let's see here. That was the customer profile. No, that wasn't it. I'm sorry. What do we call that?
That one is probably the sales bot.
Yeah, you had a name for it though. No, I took the conversational spreadsheet really that you made that day. Let me go to my tools here.
I don't know. We got so many documents. I don't know what you have, but
no, that's true. And I'll get back to that. But I will leave a link to the conversational framework that Ross put together and shared in our previous season, so that you guys get a better understanding of how you can build that conversational framework. And then as we move through each of these prompt generation methods, we're going to go through in the workshop. So immediately following this broadcast today, I'm going to start giving examples of what it is to build a prompt in that fashion. We're going to try and keep these to 45 minutes if possible. That gives us a little bit of a time to hit the head, whatever we guys do before we come back to the workshop, get a drink, go to the bathroom, whatever that means to everybody. So Kari, I just want to really welcome you once again to the broadcast. I think you're going to be a valuable asset to this team as we move ahead. And I know you weren't ready for today, but I got to say you knocked it out of the park just bringing what you did today. So thank you for that. I do appreciate it.
For sure, man. I appreciate the invite, and I'm looking forward to the entirety of this, man. I'm so excited about AI and like-minded individuals as to where this stuff's going, man. It's gangbusters out here, and I love the fact that you guys are approaching this from a standpoint of being ethical about it. Like that, that to me is one of the biggest pieces. So for sure.
Now we have a blank under your name still, Kari, so we're going to need a tagline for you. What do you want to go? I'm the video ninja around here because I use things like that all day long. Ross is the marketing maverick, obviously. We showed you as the awakened Wookiee originally because I used Brad's to get you in here. He was our previous guest host.
I'm totally cool with Star Wars references, man. So that's not a problem at all. But yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, everybody was calling me the AI guy when I was at this conference. Is the AI guy around? So I'll go with that. Let me do some prompting and figure out what the best use case is, and I'll let you know.
Come up with another one, just let me know. I'll put it under your tag for the next show for sure. Ross, if you got anything to close on, I know you're a busy guy. You got a lot going on. Tell us what's coming up next in your world.
For the foreseeable future, man, I'm putting a lot of the time that I'm personally spending into helping the victims of Helene. So we're trying to coordinate as many efforts as we can there. I've got systems set up, and it's just running out there trying to get donors and volunteers. So that's one thing right now. I'll ask anybody who's watching, if you want to donate, if you want to volunteer, I am coordinating those efforts. Reach out to me and I will connect you with the right people who can take supplies up there. If you want to donate, we have buyers who are going and buying supplies and taking them in. People in Asheville can't get in or out right now. All of the major roads are gone. So anything that you can do to help, let us know. After that, we're just doing more of the same, man, helping businesses grow and scale. If you're on that platform of looking to grow and scale and you're trying to figure out how, let me know. I'm here to help build systems. It doesn't have to be AI. It doesn't have to be automation. It can be a combination of both, or it can be one or the other. And we build and scale those like crazy. So that's what's up in my world right now. But for the foreseeable future, I am putting the financial aspect of it aside, and I'm using my powers for good and helping change people's lives and get them out of the mess that they're in right now in the mountains.
Good stuff, man. Hope you the best, because I know there's been a lot of deaths already. The death toll is going to continue to rise as things happen down there in those flood areas. And our hearts go out to all those people who have already lost loved ones, pets, whatever it might be, and obviously property and belongings. That those all play a part here. So yes, contribute what you can. Just make sure you're contributing to a proper cause. Don't just go giving it to anybody out there claiming they're collecting money for the flood efforts, because that happens a lot out here by scammers. So make sure you're giving it to the right people. The Red Cross, the food, the blood drives, all that type of stuff are good places to put your efforts. So
and
all right, guys.
We're working with the local churches and schools around here, the firefighters that are going up there. So
absolutely,
definitely going to the right places.
All right, we're going to get ready to roll into the workshop. So if you haven't registered already, please do so. We'll crack that open at noon on the dot, so that if you want to come in, we're going to record it anyway, whether you show up or not. We're still going to produce a workshop so that we can go through some of the details of what we talked about here during the podcast. It may not be a long workshop if there's no one there to talk to and ask questions, but we will provide at least some content to cover what we did here today. So thanks again, guys. We'll see you next Tuesday, 11 a.m., hopefully. And if you can't make it, no big deal. We'll just fill you in with someone else. That's the way it works around here. So appreciate you guys being here. Your time means a lot to me. So we'll see you on the next episode, guys. Take care.
All right, y'all.
All right, we are out of here. I'm going to roll a feed and we're gone. See you next time. We're breaking the mold. With AI fusion, let the story unfold. From life to business, the future is here. Unlock the potential, make it crystal clear. It's time to fuse, let the sparks ignite. AI in action, reaching new heights.